You can just go and ask your seniors, should we consider a Wegener here? Okay, or should we consider a Pan here? Okay. Idiots. Before going through that, now you're going to, the biggest challenge you face right now would be your entrance, right? I mean, not right now, after your mind will be anyway preoccupied with it. I think there are a lot of online students who are like either doing their internship or who are actually preparing for the entrance, okay? So now, my kind of, I am, what do you say, I run a business also. I mean, we have an online healthcare company, we do some technical things also, I mean. So the thing is that I come across both spectrums. I work with mostly with engineers, okay, from IIT to all kind of engineers, technical people, half my. Also I have an online, we have an online consultation company where I have around 100 doctors, around 41 specialties, okay. So I work with doctors also, mostly I just lead the team. Now one very important thing I have noticed is that what you might be getting into is that you will be having a lot of negative news, okay, negative impact. Whatever media portrays or whatever you feel is that, okay, the life of a doctor is really tough, or it is going to be a tough, it is a struggle and everything. So on drspring.com, which is our online portal, we have around 100 doctors who are actively participating in all the specialities, okay. So I personally know all of them. These doctors are actually much more accomplished and much more happy and much more positive about life than all the tech people I work with, okay. So I want to say that in media, in newspaper, in TV, you see, okay, doctor getting beaten up, all the negative news, see, media surveys on the negativity, okay. So it is actually not true. You have to survive this 1 year of struggle to get through a PG. So once you are there, you are an expert or a specialist. Your service is required for a country like India, where there is a huge population growth, where we have the baby boomers, we have the aging population, okay. So there is a tremendous potential for you to grow. There is a tremendous requirement for you to grow, and that is actually real, okay. Because I run my business, okay. So that is actually real. So don't get disheartened by all the negativity in the media or all your friends getting. It is just about a 1 year or maybe internship. You have to struggle hard to get through this PG. I'm not saying once the PG is done, everything is rosy and everything is good. But things do change, your approach will change, and this is a very small struggle of 1 year or 6 months you have to do for your lifetime, okay. So it is not asking too much. So if you focus on everything, you will have the benefit. You will find in your Facebook all your equivalent engineering mates actually doing job, getting to travel and all. But these are actually very superficial things. I know that, like, because I worked with Newdime in IIT. Currently I work with Dr. Spring with 7 engineers in my team. So actually their life is, they are actually dying to, what do you say, to have a social interaction with people. They have to try to get involved in the society, and you are actually lucky to have that opportunity, and that is real. I just want to ascertain that is real, and whatever you are going to have after this extra entrance, you are actually going to choose your subject of interest and study further and explore. It is actually worthwhile. So the pain you are going to take is actually, it is worth, okay. So yeah, actually I said 2 points. One is, whatever you are studying, you have to remember for those 3 hours. Second is, whatever you are doing is worth. ADH. What is full form of ADH? Antidiuretic hormone, right? Where is it secreted? Okay, 3ADS. Okay, cool. I am not going to say this. Where is it secreted from? Okay, read at least. It is secreted from the hypothalamus. Okay, it is stored in the posterior pituitary. Okay, and it is released from the posterior pituitary when there is a requirement. What would be the requirement? Antidiuretic hormone is like your grandmother. Okay, what happens? She won't allow you to waste water, right? Right? Or a mother, okay. So she will say, don't waste water, don't waste water. You should close all the tap, whatever, don't waste water. Okay, so antidiuretic mother, the grandmother antidiuretic hormone do not want you to waste water, do not want the body to waste the water. That is its function. Okay. So what are the real normal individual? It's fine. What are the situations, challenges that can happen? For example, give me a minute. Yeah, what are the situations where there is, in a home, what are the situations when there is increased demand to conserve water? Yeah, summer. There is a leak, the tank is not there, the motor is not working, hypotension, hypovolemia, right? So typically hypotension and hypovolemia, the body is supposed to conserve water. Who helps in this? ADH helps in this. When there is hypotension, what happens in the atria? There are stretch. Listen. This is also an equally important topic. You will be done with diabetes insipidus and SAIDH. Okay, when we finish this, it won't even take 1 hour. Okay. So when there is a requirement to conserve water, ADH comes into play. The body needs to conserve water when there is a blood loss or when there is a hypotension. Got it? So what happens to the atria when there is hypotension? The atria won't be stretched, otherwise it will be well stretched. There are stretch receptors in the atria which goes to the pituitary. These stretch receptors are actually inhibitory. Got it? These stretch receptors are inhibitory. So when there is a hypotension, these stretch receptors won't be firing because atria will be collapsed. So ADH inhibitory stimulus is gone, ADH is secreted. Got it? And ADH acts on V1, V2 receptors. V1, V2. Okay. Angiotensin 2, I will come to those things. Hypovolemia, hypotension, it causes secretion of vasopressin is also called ADH. V1 causes vasoconstriction, V2 causes renal fluid absorption. It's clear, right? The V and V2 are two receptors. ADH acts on these receptors. Okay. Another thing, you remember the renin-angiotensin system? You remember one arrow in the renin-angiotensin system which goes to ADH? Huh? Here, renin, angiotensin to angiotensin to angiotensin. Angiotensin 2 actually goes to pituitary and secretes ADH. Okay. So renin, these two systems are interrelated. Got it? What happens when there is increased? So imagine there is hypotension, hypovolemia. Again, hypotension, hypovolemia. The mother ADH, the grandmother ADH comes into play. It goes and does what on V1 receptor? Vasoconstriction. What on V2 receptor? Conserve water. How does it conserve? It brings in, opens up vesicles which contains aquaporin 2, which are already in the vesicle. It opens up. This aquaporin actually from the collecting tubules reabsorbs water. That's all. Okay. Now, this is SIADH. What is the full form of SIADH? What does inappropriate mean? Not proper. Is decreased ADH not proper? Increased ADH not proper. So why don't we call syndrome of increased antidiuretic hormone? Okay, let's call that. The name is inadequate. Inadequate is a confusing word. Let's call it increased. Okay, in this classroom. Don't say it in to your professor. It is increased. Okay, SIADH is syndrome of increased ADH. Just to have it in your mind. What happened? Now that's you can answer. Excess ADH and patient is taking water. What happens? Water retention. Got it? So there is excess effort to conserve the water. Volume expansion. Correct? So when there is increased, say excess ADH is there, water is getting pumped into the system. What happens to the serum osmolarity? Water comes, osmolarity decreases. Good. What happens to the sodium? Decreases. Actually, sodium is a measure of the total body water. Actually, okay. When there is more water, the sodium appears less. What happens to the urine osmolarity? Urine osmolarity. What happens to urine osmolarity? I hear creases. In or D. Just say something like that. Decreases. Why is it? No, it increases. No. See, more water is not secreted to the urine. Water is being reabsorbed. So urine has less water in it. So osmolarity in plasma it increases. Osmolarity decreases in plasma, increases in urine. Now volume expansion happens. Okay. When volume expansion happens, what happens to the renin-angiotensin system? the renal artery is dilated, there will be less renin, right? There will be less renin. What happens to aldosterone? Aldosterone decreases. Okay, that causes loss of sodium in urine. Usually sodium and water is tried to conserve by aldosterone. So when you say aldosterone is not needed, what happens is that the sodium is lost in the urine. Okay. So diuresis happen. Okay, that is where the patient is not getting edema. Okay, don't worry, I will come to that. Once more, what happens to serum sodium? Decreases, because ADH, the grandmother ADH, listen, just this points we are done. Okay, grandmother ADH is trying to pull more water into the body, so sodium decreases. Good. Urine sodium, why? More so, no, aldosterone, correct. Okay, aldosterone, see, when there is more, what does aldosterone do? When there is, aldosterone tries to pull back water and sodium. When there is enough water in the body says no need of you, okay, you just the sodium get lost in the urine. Okay, plasma osmolality decreases, of course decreases. Serum creatinine, why decreases? Nothing happens. Okay, serum creatinine is normal, it's a function of renal excretory function, nothing happens. Blood urea nitrogen is low because it is related to the distribution, total body volume distribution. When the volume distribution goes high, urea nitrogen goes low. Urine osmolality increases. Uric acid, like urea, low. Cortisol, normal. TSH, normal. Water, what is the significance of these two things? I mean, I can say testosterone normal, I can say that normal, I can say anything normal. These two are the other causes of euvolemic. Okay, these two are the other two causes of euvolemic hyponatremia. So we are learning about SIADH. SIADH manifests as what? Hyponatremia. And these are it is a euvolemic hyponatremia. Have you seen hyponatremia in cirrhosis? Okay, hyponatremia occurs in cirrhosis also. Okay. Cirrhosis, there will be hyponatremia. Because why? Cardiac failure, there will be hyponatremia. What happens? Patient will be bloated up, right? Yeah, there is lot of volume in the body, water volume in the body. So proportionately, sodium will appear less. So here there is no bloating up. This is euvolemia. There is no hypervolemia. When there is euvolemia and hyponatremia, these are the two causes for euvolemic hyponatremia. Okay, that's why I said. So you have to rule out these two things before putting a diagnosis of SIADH. Water load test, you can answer. Actually, I asked the patient to drink more water. What will happen? Will the patient excrete that water? No, because mother ADH is trying to recover. So usually, if you drink more water, you will urinate more. This won't happen here because the water load test will. Actually, this is actually PG level questions. Okay, so there is actually failure to inability to excrete 90% of the load. Done. That's all about SIADH. You can answer any question so far asked in the All India and AIIMS question. I am saying any question. Okay, all the questions. This is not important. Treatment: water restriction, hypertonic saline, and Lasix. Okay, in acute setting. In chronic setting, dimiclocycline, lithium, and Vaptans. Okay, these are the treatment. This is a tetracycline antibiotic. Lithium, you know, right? This actually causes diabetes insipidus, so used as treatment here. Okay, it blocks the receptors. Conivaptan. Vaptans are a new class of drugs. You might have learned in the pharmac. They are inhibitors of ADH, vasopressin receptor antagonist. There are conivaptan, which is IV, which acts on V1A and V2. There is mosavaptan, setavaptan, lixvaptan, it acts on V2. So ADH is also called vasopressin, right? Where do vasopressin comes? Is there any area? Do we have any interns here or final year students? No. Where does this vasopressin come into treatment? Any idea? Pardon? It is a pressure, right? Yes, exactly. Portal hypertension, varicose bleeding. Okay. Then when? Where do you give? When there is hypotension, what do? You give inotropic support, right? So it can be used as an inotropic support. Okay. Actually, we don't use vasopressin per se, we use terlipressin. Okay, terlipressin because it's a better analgesic. Okay, so I was just saying. Anyway, Conivaptan is used in SAIDH. That's all. These are the causes. It's given in your textbook. You need to know all the causes which has been repeatedly asked in the entrance. Okay. CA, lung, pancreas, Ewing sarcoma. So I am going to the SAIDH questions. Okay. Don't worry, you will be able to answer. Answer. Take time. Take time. Take time to think what happens. Increased ADH. Okay. So what happens? Urine will be hyperosmolar. Okay. Body is secreting more ADH. ADH is resecreting all the water. Okay. Water intoxication. Expanded. These are the real answers. Okay. True. SIDH is associated with small cell carcinoma of the lung. SIDH is associated with the following drug. I mean, it's you have to learn from your book. It's actually associated with the Vincristine. No other way you have to learn. All of the following statements are true about SIDH except. You have to answer. Why? Yeah. It is high, right? Okay. Is the concept clear? Do you want me to explain once more? No, thank you. Other are correct. Okay. SIDH secretion is seen in all except. It's you have to know it's not an interstitial nephritis. Okay. Yeah, this one. Let me know what are the sodium. Is it normal? Low sodium, no? Okay. Potassium? So. Patient is not edematous. That is a significant thing. Okay. It is euvolemia. There is no edema. So now you come to these causes. There will be edema in these two, right? 2 and 4. Right. So that is ruled out. Severe dehydration. If it is a severe dehydration, why should there be hyponatremia? Right. So the answer is A. Actually the SIDH part is important. Yeah, syndrome of inappropriate ADH hormone is characterized by the following: hyponatremia and sodium excretion more than 20 milliequal, or hypernatremia and urine sodium excretion more than 20, hyponatremia and hypokalemia, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia. 1, right? Which of the following statements is true about SIDH? Euvolemic hyponatremia. Okay. All are true regarding SIDH except. Yeah, ADH, that's the question. Answer is urine is hyposmolar. Okay. Because there is actually increased ADH because this trying, of course, that is the pathology. Which drug is not used in SIDH? Pardon? Just say something. Hypertonic saline. We have, what do we have? Hyponatremia. How do you correct hyponatremia? Acute hyponatremia, we correct using, usually in clinical settings, you correct using hypertonic saline. Okay. Why not why not normal saline? It's complicated anyway. You can in very certain rare situation you can use normal saline because you have to match the osmolality of the solute which is excreted. If the osmolality of the solute which is excreted is not matching it, you will actually worsening the condition. Okay. So fludrocortisone. What is fludrocortisone? Speak up, please. Mineralocorticoid. Yeah, right. What is the action of mineralocorticoid? What happens? Mineralocorticoid, what does what? Yes, exactly. So can it be useful? It can be useful. We have hyponatremia here, right? I am not saying it's a drug. It can be useful. You see, there is a decreased aldosterone, so it can be used. That is how you think. Fludrocortisone is the drug of choice for DASH, or just say any other condition where fludrocortisone is used. But not exactly. Drug of choice, orthostatic hypotension. Okay, it is used in orthostatic hypotension. Demiclocycline, it is a tetracycline antibiotic which is used in the treatment. Desmopressin is vasopressin. Are you going to give more vasopressin? No, it is the answer. Okay, it is not used. Hypertonic saline is of course used. Same question. Which of the choice is demiclocycline? So that that concludes all the questions in SIDH. Reasonably all the questions which have been asked in all the major exams. Okay. So the thing is that actually the thing is that I was approaching you as if most of you were like final years or interns. Okay. Now the thing is that when you see these questions isolated in between the anatomy and between the physiology and biochemistry, you will find it actually difficult to answer these questions when you come to the final year and when you come to the entrance preparation stages. But if you have the concept of ADH secretion, I only told you about the ADH secretion physiology. Actually, what is medicine? Can I say physiology gone wrong is medicine? Is it correct? Correct, no? This is ADH physiology, it went wrong. That's medicine. It's simple and beautiful. I had a ADH concept, I had trouble in it, and that is medicine. So what we discuss is the normal ADH physiology and what happens when it gone wrong. So now SI-ADH increased. Now what happens if the ADH is low? That is called polyuria. I will actually, to be honest, I was approaching you as if like you done your internship and I have to appreciate you. In that case, you are done super excellent in vasculitis, which is actually a tough topic, and you managed to answer most of the answers, which is actually very commendable. In that case, it is actually very advantageous for you. You are 30 years, right? Most of them are 30 years. So now you are going to start into the clinics. So whatever we have said is how we approach a patient. Okay. There is surgical specialty, there is a medical specialty, right? What is the challenge in medicine? Diagnosis is the challenge. Okay. Management, if I call you on the phone and tell you can diagnose, treat, right? X medicine, or you can just refer and treat. So diagnosis is the challenge, and this diagnosis is direction and is a step-by-step process. And vasculitis is a very beautiful example of arriving at a diagnosis. Okay. So when you go to your clinics, okay, have this approach in your mind. If you come across any similar cases, you put this into work and you will find it very interesting. Polyuria. What does polyuria mean? Define. Find it out. Listen. Polyuria. Okay, it's a different, very interesting topic. Very interesting. Okay. The reason being, you have periphery postings in your internship. Okay. You are going to see at least 2-3 old guys coming, old people coming and saying, I pass lot of urine. Okay. That will be a complaint. I pass lot of urine. Actually, at that time, what you have to see? Are you ask the patient? What will you ask the patient? When a patient say, I pass lot of urine, you always think of diabetes. Of course, I agree. What are you going to ask the patient? Correct. How many times? Because the patient will be passing the normal urine multiple times. Okay, that is the most common scenario. The patient will be might be having a BPH, might be having a hesitancy, might be having urinary tract infection. He is going to the toilet many times and passing less amount of urine. Is he passing 2-3 liters of urine? That is important. That situation is very rare. Okay, that situation is very rare. That situation is called polyuria. Okay, so real polyuria you will rarely come across. Most of the times you will come across increased frequency of urination. Okay. Yeah. Two major cause for polyuria. Two major cause for polyuria. One you know, what is it? Diabetes mellitus. What causes polyuria in diabetes mellitus? Glucose. There is more glucose in circulation. Glucose is a solute. More glucose has to be excreted. Glucose will take someone with them. Who? Water. Similarly, mannitol will take someone with them. Right? Where is mannitol used? Yes, for this exact purpose. Okay. So when there is a solute or when there is a diuretic, this no need to bother about this. Just remember solute. That is one scenario where there is polyuria. These are the other three scenarios. Okay. This is easy. Water diuresis. Okay. it might be, let's see, you know ADH, you are actually, this is actually, I want to say it is like a final year topic or even PG level topic. Okay. Psychogenic polydipsia, central diabetes insipidus, peripheral diabetes insipidus. Let's bring back our grandmother ADH. Okay. Psychogenic polydipsia is very simple. Patient is drinking lot of water. Okay. So why don't you just ask the patient, are you drinking lot of water? Psychogenic polydipsia is typically found in whom? Typically found in middle-aged ladies who are a bit, unstable. Got it? So they are not going to reveal you that they are drinking lot of water. It is psychogenic. Okay. Okay. It is psychogenic. So you don't get the history. Only thing is the patient will have the symptoms and come to you. Got it? So psychogenic polydipsia is basically drinking too much water. Patient will be taking something like phenothiazines which will make their mouth dry and they will keep on drinking water and they will keep on drinking water, and there is a saying, or we all think like drinking a lot of water is good, and all these concepts come into play, especially this middle-aged women. Now that is psychogenic polydipsia. Then the second one is central DI, central diabetes insipidus. The problem here is that there is no grandmother. Okay. There is no grandmother in the house. So there is no ADH. Got it? So decreased ADH secretion. Nephrogenic diabetes insipidus is because, why? What is the scenario there? I will say what is the pathology there, you just say the human equivalent. The pathology is ADH resistance. The family members are not cooperative at all. Okay. So that happens in nephrogenic. Too much water. Grandmother ADH is not there in central because from the brain, central, brain, hypothalamus, pituitary, it is not there. Nephrogenic, the family members are not cooperative, ADH resistance. That's all, done. Now comes the beauty, if you can put your mind in. Plasma osmolality. Okay, drinking too much water. But the important thing here is that the patient is otherwise normal. Okay, so if I drink too much water, what are you going to do? I am going to take a break before the next hour I am going to the toilet, right? Because you have the capacity to excrete. So it stays normal. Plasma osmolality stays normal. It can go low initially, but usually stays normal. Central diabetes insipidus. What happens? There is no grandmother ADH, and what happens? The renal tubules are not motivated to conserve water. Water is going on through the urine. The body has less water. The osmolality increases. Same thing, there is ADH, but the family members, the renal receptors are not receptive for it. So they keep losing the water, it is not regained. So what happens to the plasma osmolality here also? High. And what about the urine? Lot of water is getting lost in the urine and the osmolality actually there decreases, right? See, urine osmolality, it is low there. Because why? ADH is not there. That means you are losing water. You are losing water. Water has more water. Sorry, urine has more water, less solute. Low, low, low. Okay. What about plasma ADH in psychogenic polydipsia? I am drinking lot of water. There is lot of water in the house, even there is flooding in the house. So is grandmother going to say you conserve water? There is no grandmother ADH. Actually it will be suppressed. Got it? Very physiological. Low ADH. Central diabetes insipidus. Plasma ADH, anyway there is no, it is low, right? And what about nephrogenic diabetes insipidus? Grandmother is going to make lot of noise because there is resistance. Just basic what is the feedback physiology? There is resistance. Serum sodium. Again, the physiology is normal, so I won't be having a hyponatremia if I drink too much water. Okay, it stabilizes after a time. So it can be low initially because of the too much water inside, but it usually stabilizes. Central DA, I am losing water, so high sodium. Same thing in nephrogenic, right? No, actually this is coming to very interesting. If you answer, I will be really happy. I am depriving water. This is a water deprivation test. Okay, I am depriving water to a psychogenic polydipsia patient. Okay, what happens to the urine osmolality? I am asking urine osmolality after water deprivation. Anyway, it's written. What is going to happen? I am depriving water means I am saying not increase from, if it is low, it is going to increase, right? Because that problem is solved. I am actually avoiding this, so it increases, right? If I deprive water to a central diabetes insipidus patient, what will happen? No change because there is no ADH. Okay. Same thing, no change in nephrogenic diabetes insipidus also. Okay. So imagine like this. The problem here is that. Okay. Let's come to this. This is desmopressin. Okay. This is ADH antagonist. Agonist. It is like ADH. Okay, it is equivalent to giving an ADH. So if I give ADH in psychogenic polydipsia, what happens? It does its function, right? There is no problem. It does its function. So here in central diabetes insipidus, what happens? I think it's not very clear for you. It increases because the problem in central is that there is no ADH. You give ADH, everything is solved. There no change because ADH resistance is there. Okay. So this is how you differentiate. This is how you differentiate this between these two. This is how you differentiate this between this. Okay. You go through it if you want. I mean, it is the same thing in written form. Just there is no need for me to. I mean, it will really confuse you. Just give a thought about it. You restrict water. You are taking away the problem in psychogenic polydipsia. So the urine osmolality, which is actually what? High or low? Increases. Okay. Here there is no response. Here you give vasopressin. When there is in a central where there is a vasopressin deficiency, there is a response. In a peripheral or in a nephrogenic, there is not a response. Okay. Hyponatremia is seen in all conditions except. Take your time. Come on, what did we just study? What was the topic? What happens there? Hyponatremia, right? These other three I told you, no? These are the causes of euvolemic hyponatremia. Euvolemic hyponatremia. Okay. All of the following conditions are known to cause diabetes insipidus except. It's you have to read. There is again a chart which says cause for central and nephrogenic. There is no other go. You have to read. Okay. Choose the best lab value for a patient with a central diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus. There is just choose actually. A. Okay. Now it might be a bit confusing. This topic you just give it half an hour today. Okay. If you read it, it will be clear. 33-year-old lady presents with polydipsia and polyuria. Her symptoms started soon after a road traffic accident 6 months ago. Her blood pressure was normal with no postural drop. The daily measurement of sodium was around 130, potassium was 3.5 milliequivalents, urea was 15, blood sugar was 65. The plasma osmolality is 268 and urine osmolality is 45. The most likely diagnosis is. What is the characteristic feature here? What is wrong? Which values altered here? Sodium, it is less than 135. Hyponatremia. Okay. Central diabetes insipidus. Is it going to cause hyponatremia or hypernatremia? Hypernatremia. So now not the answer. nephrogenic, hypernatremia. Resolving acute tubular necrosis and psychogenic polydipsia are the two problems we have. Okay. Now what do you see in urea? Urea is a bit low, right? So there is something which is diluting the system. Okay, without much problem. Causing, see in a acute tubular necrosis, you know, something related to kidney. We expect the urea to be high. So that means this is actually psychogenic polydipsia early stage. In early stage, before normalizing, okay, before normalizing the function, this happens. Okay, so this is actually you are ruling out the other causes and coming to this cause. In a patient, if administration of exogenous vasopressin does not increase the osmolarity of urine, the likely cause is resistance. That is renal hypotension. Yeah, correct. Which of the following is true about nephrogenic diabetes insipidus? Yeah, come on. One. Same question. Yeah, which of the following statement true about diabetes insipidus is true? Urine osmolarity should be greater than 300, plasma osmolarity should be less than 280, water deprivation test is required, plasma osmolarity should be greater than 300 prior to HPO deprivation. Actually, if I say again, it will be repetitive, you will only get confused. Everything is there in the slide, okay, just go read, it will be done.